So Trump has declared economic war on Canada, and it's working. That's right, in a video that I never expected to make, our biggest trading partner was just at the center of a massive controversy, all because of a brand new tax that was about to hit the United States today, which Trump called a direct and blatant attack on our country. Like, without exaggeration, this new tax has the potential to start another trade war, cost American companies billions of dollars, and lead to brand new tariffs that make everything more expensive for you and me. Not to mention, most people have no idea what's currently taking place. That's why we got to discuss exactly what just happened, what this means for everybody watching, and how you could best prepare going forward. Because like it or not, this is just the very beginning. Although before we start, if you appreciate breaking news videos like this, where we just cover the facts regardless of what side you're on, it would mean the world to me if you tax the like button or subscribed if you haven't done that already. Doing that seriously helps with the channel more than you could imagine, and as a thank you for doing that, here's a picture of a baby Canadian goose. So thanks so much, and also a big thank you to Incogni for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Alright, so to bring you up to speed, let's discuss where all of this begins. Canada. Now, even though it seems like China's received most of the spotlight over the last year, behind the scenes, Canada has actually become America's largest trading partner, with over $761 billion worth of goods exchanged in 2024. This means that every single day, $3.6 billion worth of goods crosses our borders, with oil, natural gas, aluminum, and steel making up a significant portion of that. But it doesn't stop there. For over 150 years, Canada's been one of America's closest allies and trading partners. We share the world's longest undefended borders. We fought together throughout world wars, and our economies, for the most part, have been completely intertwined, as in what happens to the United States affects Canada, and vice versa. Like, Canada's become so commingled with our own economy that in 1965, an automotive trade agreement was signed to create one of the biggest free trade zones on the planet, meaning auto parts could freely travel from the US to Canada to Mexico without much opposition. This is also why Canada's become the largest consumer of American goods and services over the last few decades. So if there's one country the US cannot afford to alienate, it's Canada. That's why when something like a new tax comes up, initiated from Canada, it's a big deal that could equally impact both economies. So here's exactly what's happening. All of this comes down to what's called the Digital Services Tax. See, back in 2020, Canada realized that giant digital corporations like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Netflix were making a ton of money off Canadian users while paying relatively little tax back to Canada. After all, in their mind, Canadians browse American websites, they click on ads, and they stream shows. So Canada wants a portion of those proceeds. Except there's a problem. Most multi-billion or trillion-dollar companies incorporate themselves in a place like Ireland, which has a corporate tax rate of just 12.5%. So Canada came up with a solution. Instead of those American company profits being distributed out of the country, Canada would implement what's called a 3% digital service tax. The plan was that this would only apply to companies making over 750 million euros a year and have at least 20 million worth of Canadian digital revenue. So the small companies are off the hook. But the big American tech giants fall right into this category, and even Canada's own government estimated that around 90% of the money collected from the tax will come from US-based companies. However, even though these taxes were initially proposed in 2020, Canada postponed their implementation while trying to work out an international solution through the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which aimed to create one set of global tax rules that would apply around the world. Seems normal, right? Well, month after month, year after year, that initiative kept getting pushed back and delayed. So eventually Canada got fed up and decided to move forward without the rest of the world. And in 2024, they passed their Digital Services Tax, which made these tax payments retroactively owed all the way back to 2022. This meant that big tech companies could suddenly owe billions of dollars going back for the last 3 years with a payment due date of June 30th, 2025. Essentially, everyone knew that this tax was coming, but there was a lot of uncertainty about whether or not Canada would actually go through with it while being in the middle of a trade negotiation. Although, as we recently found out, this is where everything suddenly went very, very wrong. After months of trade negotiations, Trump abruptly canceled all trade talks with Canada over their new digital services tax, saying that based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada, effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period. On top of that, Trump also said that economically, we have such power over Canada, we'd rather not use it. It's not going to work out well for Canada. They were foolish to do it. So if you're curious exactly what this tariff could be and what this means for you, you're going to want to hear this. Although before we go into that, just like governments are going after big tech with taxes like Canada's DST, the reality is our own information is already being tracked and traded.